Geek Out!
Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I don't even know if the microphone picked that up.
I'm Jake.
And here we are. We've just done a real, successful run of interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've done I'm trying to think the last time we had a fucking...
We've done at least one good interview, I think, out of the three. On our end.
Yeah. What's okay, since there's no guests or anything. But no, there's no guests or anything. It's just, we're going old school.
Mm-hmm.
Before we jump into who knows how long,
this could be the last episode ever. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could. Sorry all the people that, I've booked up.
No.
We're just bye.
No, not Geek Out.
Now that we're finally on YouTube, we're done.
Yeah.
Not Geek Out.
I've been waiting to get on Geek Out for years.
No. The world's premiere podcast.
Yeah.
With three lovable lumps.
Three lovable lumps.
Three lovable lumps.
Three lovable lumps. We should have called...
See how they run.
And forget Catching Up or Geek Out. We should have called it Three Lovable Lumps.
And I'm Lump.
And I'm Lump.
Yeah, I'm Lump.
I'm Lump. I'm Lump.
There's like 5 of them.
But
I thought there was 100.
No, we have been blessed with fantastic interviews.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Stuff.
blessed.
Over the years.
But I was going to ask, what do you think are, if you had to narrow it down to 3 in our entire history?
Favorite interviews?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm trying to make sure that these drop. Yeah, the Ed Piskor one dropped recently, right?
This last week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Becky Cloonan.
Sure. Back in July.
And Trad Moore.
The July before, so July 2016.
Those are 3 that jumped to mind. I mean, yeah, those are 3 that jumped to mind.
Yeah.
I think the Becky Cloonan and Trad Moore were the most I've unabashedly geeked out on during the interview.
Yeah.
I had to rein it back a bit. I was pretty excited.
It's always kind of and I'm sure you guys have seen it when I'm really excited and just super fucking giddy.
Yeah.
And then I have to start to get it out of my system, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
just another dude.
Yeah, the Ed Piskor one, I tried to rein it in a bit, but then we got off mic. I was like, oh, fucking X-Men! It's a goddamn masterpiece!
I think the one, Becky Cloonan was one of those ones on the air.
Sure. Well, also
where you hear me, in the first, 10, 15 minutes, hey, it's really cool that you're here.
Well, also, it's she was in the middle of her Punisher run.
Yeah.
Which has since, ended.
And so is the Netflix series.
Yeah. But,
it's over already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, Trad Moore he's one of my favorite artists on the planet, and
he remembers you when I talked to him in New York.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
crazy. That's wild. Come with goofy sketch ideas. Yeah.
For me, the 2 of them that really jump to my mind are Tim Seeley, because I love me some hack slash.
Yeah.
And Joe Kelly.
Oh, yeah. The week Deadpool came out.
Yeah. That was a great get for us.
Yeah. And that was during the big snowstorm of 2016.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's right.
Because, that was a... that was wild.
Uh-huh.
We've got... I think this is a good kind of episode to just kind of clear the decks.
Did you do your 3?
I didn't. Do you want me
to?
Yeah.
Oh, he tried to sneak out.
Yeah.
Dude, I always try to sneak out, guys. I'm always like, what are you thankful for? Well, that's good. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. What are you geeking out
on? What have you been up to lately? Oh, that's fine. And then I always, because, I just presume that you gents, you fine folks at home don't necessarily listen to... For little old me, you listen to whoever we got.
He's still stalling.
Yeah, they don't listen for us, and we still have to say it. So you have to say yours too, buddy.
It's kind of like when it was like when you point blank asked me if Sean Connery was my favorite Bond. And I was just like, oh, that's that is a question, isn't it?
Answer the goddamn question.
What are you, the press secretary? Come on, answer the damn question.
That's a low blow. That's a low blow. Let's see, the 3. I mean, we've had some really...
And this isn't We enjoy all of our guests.
We do.
I enjoy none of them.
I think anybody that comes back,
Well, Alex the Campy is like the champion.
Yeah,
she's only one away from literally winning a prize.
yeah.
Which we've already.
She's gonna be the Ric Flair of this web series.
She is.
16-time interviewee.
Yeah.
Champion.
It's really the interviews where for me, it's almost more moments.
Yeah.
So when I sit down and talk to James Robinson, and we did that like October of last year, and there was a moment where I was just like, because there's a lot of, if you read his semi-autobiographical book Airboy, there's a lot of self-doubt in that book.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a moment where I was like, I just want you to know that you still write good things. You still matter. And, he really took that to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, is one of... If I can get moments like that, and I have, that's the entire reason why this show exists.
Right
so,
on.
Whether we get download stream 1 or download stream, we've got... and then this month, or I guess we're in December now, by the time this thing posts... We'll have the most downloads we've had since the summer, and we always kind of get like a post San Diego boost and a post New York boost, but we're on track to get, and that's with because we haven't. I don't know if you guys at home have noticed, but we haven't had that many book reviews lately between the music interview and we did a X-Men book last week, but I'll just kind of pull back the curtain a bit because this is kind of our behind the scenes episode, I guess. Kind of how the TV shows in the 90s would have like that behind, like Seinfeld or whatever, would have the behind the scenes episode as filler to fill up
this is
the
our
season.
flashback episode. It's like, remember this moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, our clip show.
Yeah, basically.
I would not want to have to cull through.
Oh,
for
Jesus.
Yeah, I won't.
Christ.
Yeah. But there is a what the hell was I talking about? Oh, we just weren't able to. The X-Men review is coming. We just can't because of contractual reasons. Can't. Some certain things are embargoed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not me against the embargo to say that it's embargoed. I just can't tell you anything about the book yet. But you'll get that review. But no, it's kind of wild. This is kind of it's something I've been thinking about more and more lately. When this started out, it was me and Jake sharing a mic. Chris, at that point had his own. He had his own. I had my own, but Jake hadn't bought his yet. So yeah, we were sharing a mic in this little home studio.
I was using my camera tripod as my mic stand.
Yeah, we didn't have like actual pop guards.
Yeah,
we literally used Chris's wool socks.
Yeah,
and it was really
I went
just
cold that winter.
Yeah, it was kind of a way back, at least summer of 2014 when this all started. It was. This is kind of like I've been introspective on the blog. I've been introspective on like Twitter. This is the introspective episode. This is the
an introspective interlude.
Yeah, basically that's what I'll title it.
Boom.
It was really just a way for me and Jake to, obviously we're friends with Chris, but it was also, we didn't have the most ideal living conditions at the time.
Yeah.
And it was really a way for Jake and I to get out of where we were living.
Well, we always look forward to Sundays because that was when we used to record. Now it's Wednesdays. So, whatever that means. But Sundays.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
Sundays were the time because I always look forward to it too. Because when I was working at the comic shop at the time, we closed at 6. Sam was off, Chris was off, and I'd come home from the shop usually around 7. We'd meet up usually for coffee. Then we usually come right here, and then we just from like 7:30 until like sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah,
we'd be recording, shooting video. Going to IHOP, going to 7-Eleven, doing 2 commentaries, doing like 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
And this is back. That was back when like we had the easiest schedule we ever would have.
At that time, I was consulting. I was just getting out of it involuntarily. Mm-hmm. I was a freelance consultant.
That's right.
For a company based out of New York, and I was working part-time, just to keep the benefits and all that. And then little did I know, like, maybe I'll work here full-time at a local public university. So yeah, I didn't have to go into work at like 8:30 in the morning like I do now.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris had just moved back from New York.
Yep.
And yeah, you were working.
I think the same month we started the podcast was when I started working at the bar.
Oh, wow.
And that was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And that was it. So like Sunday through Tuesday, I could do whatever the hell I wanted.
Yeah. So it really, we were kind of workhorses with this whole thing, like you were saying. We really we would be up until fucking 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We would get back to where Jake and I, we used to carpool because we used to live together at the time.
Yeah.
We would carpool back to the house, and just a couple hours away from dawn, and we'd just be like, oh, that was a good session, and just go to bed, sleep until like 10 or whatever, and start it all up again.
Back when we wanted this podcast to originally be a video web series.
Well, yeah, and I had done like business trips to like Atlanta and stuff to make it fly, and that didn't. We don't generate any income from this.
Nope.
And that kind of that's a liberating thing. But it's also,
we have no gatekeeper.
We don't have.
Nice.
Yeah. If we don't want to put up a book review, which we haven't done for the past couple of weeks, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Have we turned down interviews? I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if because I usually do most of the scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've turned down some interviews. Sure.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, and now here we are, over 2 years later, getting approached by, like Marvel trying to promote an upcoming, like really high profile, like fucking, not like a Power Pack series or ROM Space Knight, to talk about like the fucking X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The X-Men.
Yeah. We've talked to, Chris and I talked to the guy that created and executive produced Atomic Blonde the week Atomic Blonde came out.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild when you kind of look back at it. We really are I use this analogy when I explain it to like people at like parties or whatever. My analogy is we are just a 3-piece garage rock band,
mm-hmm.
and we just happen to be invited to play like festivals.
Yeah.
We're
like a really good opening act.
We are a fantastic opening act.
We're that three-piece garage band that gets to open up for like Van Halen.
Yeah. So Sum 41.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Back when they were 3-piece.
Yeah. And a garage band.
Yeah. They still are.
The Sums?
Yeah, I think it was Noel Gallagher. No, it was Liam. Which one's the one that doesn't always wear sunglasses?
I don't know.
Okay, the
guy.
Frank or
Jake.
Steve.
Yeah, I want to say it was Noel. So Noel,
foremost Oasis expert.
Yeah, Noel Gallagher. Noel Gallagher was like, it's really something. We were around for the worst band of all time. That's in human history. That really has to count for something in reference to Sum 41.
Oh man,
no love lost there. But yeah, it's really it's kind of wild, and I really thank you guys for joining me and facilitating and indulging me on this weird little journey of ours, because it really is a weird thing that we do.
Yeah.
Like if you just sit and think about it, you're like, this is fucking weird.
It's quite a beautiful thing. It's a fun way to guarantee that I get to hang out with two of my best friends. And Sam.
Oh, yes. There it is. Yes. That was all leading to that. Fuck it. Turn it off. Fuck it.
Podcast.
Kill the lights.
No, sorry. I couldn't resist because upon my saying best friends, Sam threw up his hands like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, two of my best friends, I get to hang out with you on at least a weekly basis, which in this, period of our adulthood where we all have, schedules that we have to keep track of, it's nice to know that I can hang out with people, because like a lot of my other friends, I can't find the time between our schedules. So it's nice. And then like it's gotten to the point where like people who I know who know that I do this, that know that I'm the audio engineer, I'm the one that's in charge of the microphones and stuff like that, are saying, hey, there's a chance that these people at my work are looking to do a similar thing. would you like to do this professionally? And I'm like, fuck yeah. So if that, fingers crossed, I try not to talk about such things before there's more of a definitive, yes, it's going to happen. But if that happens, it's great. And it's all because of this show.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm trying to think I can credit this show to a degree for being able to write for Image Plus, for translating Beowulf, for working the shows with Image. But I think something, and we've thanked her before, but you can never thank her enough. I think the biggest factor there is really, our friend Corey Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Arguably the reason why we're still able to do this beyond just like kind of dicking around with buddies.
And she certainly, hooked us up, got us on that press list. And from there, it's kind of wild that, we've had so many. So, I mean, it really, would I have been able to get the magazine gig just knowing Corey without the podcast? Maybe. But I think her listening to all these interviews really solidified that I knew what I was talking about when I was talking to comic creators. And that, of course, led to translating Beowulf, to hosting panels and that sort of thing.
And they had more than just her word to go on as confirmation.
Yeah, because, the Image's publicist, Kat and Bria, certainly more Bria, because I work with her more often. She'll reference stuff that happens in the shows, and I'm like, oh my God. I remember when she first started doing that, I was like, oh, somebody's actually listening to these. Kind of like coming from like a place of like embarrassment.
Please don't listen to the Dicks episodes.
Yeah, please. Yeah, why are you listening to this thing that you've sent people my way for? But no, I think thank so much to the Image crew. And when I say stuff like, hey, we're talking to Marvel, or hey, we're talking to Boom, or hey, we're doing music, that isn't because I'm. Let me make something clear. That's not because I'm dissatisfied working with Image Comics. I just like to, like we were saying, it's our show. We can bend it into whatever directions we want, and I always wanted to do more.
Yeah, and that's just showing that the floodgates are opening.
I'll go ahead and again, we're kind of laying it all bare a bit. Most popular episode at the time we're recording this, and the month's almost over. Most popular episode in November was the music episode. That we really started something back there. And we've got more on the docket, including bands that like these guys have actually heard of, which is cool.
Yeah. No offense to Mr. Brian Whalen.
Yeah, well, that you guys, I think it's safe to say, aren't as big into the country or alternative country scene as I am.
Correct.
So I was like, alternative country, and you guys very graciously were like, sure. And it turned out to be a fucking great interview.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's something. What you're going to see moving forward is a lot more. It's like a sequel. We're going bigger and better, but we're going deeper and more personal at the same time. Like all the best movie sequels, I think, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Empire Strikes Back. Would you say Empire Strikes Back is bigger?
Bigger than
Star Wars?
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly more personal.
It's
story.
It's on a larger scale because,
Yeah.
like, if you think about it, Star Wars or A New Hope is just Tatooine and the Death Star, and then a little bit Yavin 4 as well. But that's all it really is. Whereas, like, Empire Strikes Back, you got Hoth, you got the Cloud City, you got all
dual
the
narratives.
Star Destroyers. Yeah, you got dual narrative.
It just ups the ante.
It's a much more complex film.
Yeah. It's more ambitious.
Yeah, and I think, the level of it really, I was thinking as I was stalling for time, thinking back on all our interviews, I'm like, Joe Kelly was really cool. Becky Cloonan was really cool. Off the record, I've been talking to people for the magazine. One of the people and this issue's out now, so I can talk about it. I got to talk to, here in the studio, I got to talk to John Romita Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That John Romita Jr. is a guy who I read his books as a kid, and I'm reading his books now.
Yeah.
And I think Chris can vouch for this. I played it cool as a cucumber throughout the interview, but right before, I just kind of put my head down and was like, just another dude. Just another dude.
You had to psych yourself up maybe psych yourself down, so to speak, for, I want to say near on 20, 30 minutes, just to make sure you were going to be cool for the interview. Yeah. And understandably, like, I understand. I know how big John Romita Jr. is. Yeah. I would be nervous to talk to him as well. All I had to do was hit record, so I was cool.
What would you say is the most starstruck you've been so far on the show? I remember I was surprised how well I handled like the TV interviews for like the Science Channel last year.
Oh yeah, because those were in person.
Those were in person, and those were with like television personalities, and it was science. It wasn't comics. I think that was the first it was either that or James Caan was the first non-comic book interview.
And you pronounced that guy's name right, and he was excited about it.
Hakeem Al-Shea.
Yeah.
A PhD in astrophysics.
Yeah. He was very excited with your ability to pronounce his name correctly.
Yeah, all that polyglot ability finally comes. Polylinguistics comes in handy for once.
Yeah.
No, I mean that was something I think honestly it wasn't Jim Zub, because he was the first major interview we had.
His Zubness.
Yeah. He's coming back, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll just lay my cards out a little bit. In the next few months, obviously, you're going to get a ton of Image Comics interviews. You're going to get a couple music interviews that are on the dance cards, and I'm working on some more. You're going to get, hopefully, one Boom Studios interview that I've been trying to... He's kind of been my ace in the hole for a while, and it's just, I presume, scheduling. But, yeah, so you're going to get the rest of December and the rest and into 2018. Hold on to your asses. But yeah, what would you say is the most starstruck that you guys have gotten?
I think for me, kind of going with my favorite interview, Tim Seeley I was just super excited because before you had even told me that we were talking to him, like I had been in the midst of a reread of Hack Slash, and I was just like, this is so fucking good. I love this so much. Like it ticks all of my, horror movie boxes and everything. And then you're like, oh, hey, by the way, we're interviewing him. And I was like, ah! So getting that was really geeking to me. And I remember in that interview, I was like, just stay quiet, and then you were like, all right, let's talk a little Hack Slash, and I was like, ah,
yeah. And something I always try to cue up, especially with horror writers like Tim Seeley, is we're all just kind of saying like, let's just talk horror movies for a second.
Yeah.
One of the more recent interviews we've had that were just like that was like Miles Gunter, and it was clear that Miles, and by his own admission, it's in the episode, he's like, I don't necessarily like to do the PR or the press song and dance. And it's like, at the end of the day, this is just a conversation. Our show, and I think you guys, will agree, is kind of like a cross between Wayne's World and Pee-wee's Playhouse, and that's an aspiration.
Yeah.
It's just dudes hanging out, because this really was born from the three of us hanging out at an IHOP or a Denny's after a night of karaoke or drinking or seeing a movie, and just talking about it. And there would be hanger-ons, like rotating hanger-ons that would be with us who are friends. I'll give them a little more credit than just calling them like hanger-ons, but
Sam, Batman or Superman?
Batman thinks of everything.
No, Sam.
Okay, but the
inside joke.
Yeah, they were like, you guys have a really good rapport. You should like record this, and they had said that a couple times, and I was like, Jake and I had done a podcast earlier, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's record this. Let's see what people think of it. And when we first put it out, I would consider it a good month if we got 250 downloads the entire month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, especially on those really good months, we average 250 downloads a fucking week.
Yeah. I feel bad if we don't get 250 downloads a week.
Me too. I'm kind of like sitting there like stressing out about the whole thing.
What did we do wrong?
Yeah, it's like, was this not...
That's it. Chris doesn't get to have his little Laserdisc podcast anymore.
I will say now that on the record, that ended of its own volition.
Yes, yeah. And every once in a while was the highest downloaded of the sub shows, not because the other ones were doing poorly, but because that one died out because Ken and I got tired of buying Laserdiscs just for the sake of talking about something on the show.
Yeah. I really want to rotate back to doing a music podcast one of these days.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm deep in James Bond right now, and I'm deep in Mario. And both of those, like, I'm still technically in the 80s in Mario, and I've just...
80s in Bond, too.
80s in Bond, so...
Well, in terms of recorded ones.
Yeah.
And not released yet.
By the time this thing releases, we'll have just finished the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But the...
Well, Bond's not going to survive through the 70s.
Yeah. George Lazenby didn't think he'd make it through the 60s.
Woo!
Sorry, George. You were always my favorite film. It's kind of wild. We've not only survived, but and I always wonder. I don't think watching all this happen. Somebody else, another cool moment. Kyle Starks. We really fucking
Oh yeah.
Each time he comes back, it's
yeah.
He really took to heart what our conversations with him.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that people come back and they do remember us.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I remember talking to Jason Latour, who called me an idiot today, but online.
You can see it
public.
on his Twitter.
I presume all lovingly. I remember talking to him at San Diego. I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you remember, but like when you came on our show, you just randomly screamed fried chicken." He was like, "Oh, I remember."
You don't forget a thing like that.
Yeah.
Those were his exact words after that.
Oh boy.
When Jake and I at AwesomeCon
last year.
Yeah, when we
the year
was it?
Last year was Scotty Young.
Was it? Oh, I'm thinking of this year because I didn't go this year.
Yeah, no, neither did I. But when we ran into Scotty Young or went to Scotty Young, and we were like, "Hey, don't know if you remember us, but and he was like, "Oh, are you the podcast guys? The one that works at Mount Vernon?"
Yeah.
And Jake was like, "That's me."
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. like it was really cool. Not just that he remembered us, but he offered up information, a random factoid, that we had talked about.
I don't know if Corey ever mentioned this to you, but when we had Corey on for the Superman show, she put it on her social media as well, and Scotty listened to it, and he sent her an email, which Corey showed me in New York. He was like, "Hey, I listened to your Superman episode. It was really well done."
Oh, cool. Awesome. I didn't know that.
So Scotty Young has heard us beyond his own episode.
Shit.
And he was on episode 100, too.
Oh, yeah.
Here we are. We're in, like, spitting distance of episode 200.
Damn.
Ooh. It's kind of wild if you think about it.
Well,
we almost have 100 book reviews out.
The crazy thing is, speaking of that, I just listened to Hollywood Babylon, one of my favorite podcasts from Kevin Smith, did its 300th episode. And granted, he's not on Hollywood Babylon, but one of the starstruck moments that was really kind of a crazy, like, holy shit, was when we got to talk to Mark Bernardin of Fat Man on Batman.
And that was something, and even though we're on Image's press list, since they're Top Cow, we don't do a lot of, like, outside of Zach Kaplan. Mm-hmm. Like, I had to talk to Matt Hawkins to get Matt Hawkins on the show.
Yeah, no, that was sweet, because I was like, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then you were like, let me talk to my people.
Yeah, for Mark Bernardin, I reached out to my friend Henry, who's their director of ops, and I was like, hey, man, is there any way we could get the Genius Cartel guys on?
Yeah.
And by the end of the week...
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we would have never imagined when we started, that we could do that.
Yeah, that I can, getting Brian Whelan on, or getting the musical guests that I can't... Should I just tell them who they are, or should I leave it a secret?
Tease it.
I don't care. You do whatever you want.
Fuck it. All right, so... Dude York and Less Than Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, hopefully they don't listen to this episode and go, "Oh, fuck those guys."
Yeah.
I don't think they would.
No, I mean, I've been emailing.
Should I not be on the Less Than Jake episode?
Because you don't.
Ooh,
Well,
so that we're less than Jake.
Yeah.
Depends on the scheduling.
We need to find someone named Ezra and then interview better than Ezra.
I would love to get better than Ezra on the fucking show, honest. And I've been talking to other publicists, but that was really just me. And Jake asked me this because he was looking to get some people, to kind of branch out himself. Mm-hmm. And he was like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I find their publicist.
Break his legs.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm, in so many words, I'm X, I'm Sam. I produce and co-host this. And I showed them some sample episodes. And I try to get one, really good fucking episodes, and two, episodes that are varied. So obviously the Science Channel interview is one because we were doing something for the fucking Science Channel. Mm-hmm. That was wild that we got, if you think about it, that we got to talk to the fucking Science Channel. That's all you do. You just kind of put yourself out. It's like dating. You just put yourself out there, and if they say yes, they say yes, and if they don't respond or say no, then they don't respond or say no. Mm-hmm. Have I put myself out there, both with dating and the show, and gotten a non-response or a negative response? Totally. But
and now you're married with 7 kids.
I know, because she, after number 5, I was like, honey, I want to keep going, and she said yes.
Oh man. Hang on,
it's amazing that people listen to this show.
There's this fucking picture of a disc jockey wig that's been staring at me for like 3 weeks, and I'm fucking sick of it. All right. Electric blue Superman's fine.
Yeah, because he's Superman.
Yeah.
I think the big thing, I don't believe in overnight successes anymore.
What's impossible.
Doing this show, even, people are like, well, Nirvana was an overnight success. It's like, well, Nirvana had been paying their dues up and down the West Coast for like years. Mm-hmm. Like, Nevermind, and this gets lost in the discussion a lot, Nevermind isn't their first studio album.
Yeah.
And even then, Nevermind was made on a $60,000 budget in an abandoned warehouse in Van Nuys. Not in Los Angeles, it was, it just happened. They had developed their sound. We're still developing our sound. We're certainly not Nirvana.
No.
But, we've certainly got, it's fucking weird. We have an audience, Mm-hmm. Some of my all-time fucking heroes have been on the show. Some of my all-time fucking heroes I've had drinks with or follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Because this show was born from friendships, mm-hmm. and it has led to friendships. Mm-hmm. This show was started out as I think mentally, no matter who we have, and I think this is what keeps me grounded the most. Mm-hmm. No matter if I'm talking to John Romita Jr. or Scott Snyder or Becky Cloonan or Joe Kelly or the fucking Science Channel, mentally for me, it'll always just be a hobby.
Yeah.
That I get to do with my friends.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps it going and keeps it real.
I think the thing also just to put it on record.
100.
To put it on record how much work young Samuel Stone does for this podcast is fucking out of bounds and out of control.
True that.
Like every interview he sets up, he's the guy that thinks of all the questions he can. Because if it was up to, I think I'm not overstepping my bounds to lump Chris in this with me. If it was up to the two of us to interview people, it'd be a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Like, we can we're here to throw in funny lines, talk about He-Man, but like, Sam is very much.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments too. But like, the structure of it and making it sounding very professional. And so like again, Sam does like an insane amount of work for that, like insane. Like there's going back to Hollywood Babylon, Ralph Garman talks about like how like he spends all week setting up the episode, and Kevin Smith's like, I just show up, and I was like, oh yeah, that's me. And then like also like
and I'm the one that keeps care of the equipment.
the only motherfucker who's been here to listen to every, like, whether he's on it or not, who's listened to, been a part of every single episode. Every single episode is E.G. Nolan.
Yeah.
And
Egg Nolan.
Yeah, Egg Nolan, and the guy that makes it sound good.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how many times early on where we would freak out and it would start clipping and go crazy and have to have edit points because we're idiots.
Mm-hmm.
And that still happens, but also like when we'll finish an episode and we have to go back and like edit that, like, because we clipped or whatever. And
or like there was a random
shut the fuck up! I'm talking nice about you, you prick. No, but like he'll random spot of like oh this or that, and Chris will be like bing bang boom, like in like the first try. So that's nice.
Wing wang
And
wong.
yeah.
wham bam.
Thank
you, ma'am.
The Big Bang Booms is my fantasy football team, which I'm currently in first place. Although at the time of this recording, I could, I'm probably knocked out of first place, but I'm gonna enjoy it while I can. I'm gonna enjoy it while I can.
Did you not have any Giants on your team?
No.
And
although I don't blame Eli Manning, I don't, and I'm sad that he's gonna be benched, and I'm sad that his record's gonna be snapped.
But by the time this episode
Stop.
drops, you'll probably be back on top anyway.
I hope so, man.
Yeah.
I really fucking hope.
Right where you belong.
But no, I mean it's and again we're in Chris's basement, so thanks to the Nolans.
Yeah.
It's like
Because they must hear like us shouting some
they do.
nights.
Yeah.
They'd be like, what the fuck?
it's very much like how Daft Punk recorded fucking Homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that Jake has showered me with praise.
That's it. That's you're never getting any more, buddy.
No, I'm reminded of an interview that we did, and I won't say who it was with, but I remember it was a very kind of like stale interview with lots of like pregnant pauses to really like consider the responses and stuff like that, and like all three of us kind of like ended the interview with like, what the fuck was that? How what are we supposed to do? And Sam and I hatched this idea that was like, okay, well, if we go in and just like listen to the interview again, and like step one, get rid of all of those ridiculous like 5 to 10 second long pauses between the question and the answer. I bet you just that will sound better. And then Sam was like, I trust you, if you hear something that you think is like dull or just kind of off topic, whatever, cut that out too. And so I sat there for like I want to say probably like about an hour, like just the interview itself was probably about an hour, so like maybe like 3 hours listening through to this interview, listening over and over and over to little bits, and like I just was like, okay, snip here, snip here, snip here, snip here, snip here, snip here. And then like I was like, all right, Sam, I uploaded it to our server, go ahead and check it out, have a listen, what do you think? And Sam comes back to me like an hour or so later, after listening to it, and he was like, sounds like we were fucking having a conversation. What the fuck did you do?
Yeah. I still think your greatest technical achievement, when we interviewed Cy Spurrier, and we were pretty clear about this in the episode too, because it wasn't like a personal problem, it was a scheduling problem.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't get our timetables to match, so I sent him via email the questions that I was going to ask him, and he just recorded his responses and emailed it to us. And then Chris then recorded me verbally asking the questions, and then it made it sound like him and I were in the same room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
both credit to him for responding in a very natural way, and you for asking the questions in a very natural way, and then me just being like, cool, line it up.
Yeah. So I think that so to date is your greatest technical achievement on the show.
Yeah, and now everyone knows.
Again, we were pretty clear about it.
I think you say literally that in the intro. You're like, so there's a little bit of tomfoolery.
Yeah, little sleight of hand. Smoke and mirrors. But we actually, we didn't fake his voice.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't answering alternate questions. These are actually what I asked him. That was a bit of a, and I can't even say I've been in the studio for every single thing.
Yeah.
There was an episode where you called in from your car.
I remember Corey.
The snow was so bad.
Yeah,
Because I walked.
You were and I think you were just like stuck on the road, unable to move. You were on your way here, and then like the traffic just got so bad that you were like, guys, I don't know if I can do that. And I was like, well, why don't you just call and we'll talk. And I think by the end of the episode, you had made it home.
I just made it home, and it was like a typical length episode. And it's not like I live like at that. Certainly not at that time.
Yeah,
that I live quite a ways away.
I think you were like 15, maybe 20 minutes away.
Something like that.
I mean, that's how long it would normally take for you to almost get here. It's like 20, 25 minutes.
But I think you hadn't even made it past the shopping center that was right next to your house in as much time.
Yeah. So I mean, and I remember, Corey was kind of like, "Oh, the audio quality on that one wasn't that one like your audio quality." She usually compliments us on our audio quality. She's like, "That one though," and I was like, "Yeah, I was caught in a blizzard."
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, you called me. Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was able to walk here.
Yeah,
and that walking here was crazy because their snowplows just were like abandoned on the fucking down the road.
Yeah,
and I remember like going up the side to try to like walk on some kind of level ground and just falling almost waist deep into the snow.
That was a good snow.
That was crazy. But yeah, and this is the last episode we'll ever do. This is the finale.
I'll miss the coffees.
Oh God, you son of a bitch!
Oh man,
greatest line in Frasier history.
Class dismissed.
Sorry, we're closed.
Nice.
Cheers, baby.
Tomorrow. It's the last line in The West Wing.
Oh.
Just Charlie Sheen looking out the...
Tomorrow.
It's only a day away.
That's how we will do the last episode. We'll fucking sing that entire song.
And then a moment or a couple seconds later, a faint gunshot goes off in the distance.
What do you think what do you think was the most kind of like in retrospect like hilarious fuck up we've ever done? Because we fuck up a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was
deciding to do Waterworld.
You could argue the entire idea of commentaries in general, really.
there was
some good
it started
ones.
out strong, and there were times that I really enjoyed. Like I said, one of my favorite, possibly my favorite geek out thing we've ever done, and this is excluding the interviews, like talking to people and stuff like that, just us hanging out geek out things, was the day we watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and did the commentaries for those two, because that was still really fresh, and we just got to watch two like fucking great movies. We did the 7-Eleven thing,
especially coming off of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I mean those were like goofy. Like we were still like the bad movies. We still had like fun with them, but then it got to a point when it was like bad movies, and we just fucking by the end we were just like I was getting just so annoyed, and
those last few commentaries. We haven't done commentaries for over a year now, so I'll just go ahead and say this. Maybe the last month and a half's worth of commentaries, almost like clockwork. I would fall the fuck asleep.
Yeah. I remember. I don't think we never released them. We had started doing the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
And it was Sam was like, guys, let's do Harry Potter.
Yeah, because at the time it was like, hey, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
We've done commentary series hyping up all these other things. Let's do one hyping up Harry Potter.
And Jake and I were both like, I mean, we're not the hugest Harry Potter fans.
Yeah. And when I looked over and Sam was passed out during the first one, I was like, "That's the champion of these."
Yeah,
we need. And then we were just like, maybe
that's a sign.
Maybe.
They both like sat me down and were like, "Hey," because I was like, "Hey guys, ready to do like fucking Chamber of Secrets?"
Yeah.
And you both sat me down and you were just like, "We're thinking about just not doing these anymore." And I was like,
"Yeah."
It's
and
fair.
I think Sam was like waiting for that moment too. Like he was like, "Yeah, you guys ready to do it?" Like in the back of my mind, please say something.
I'm gonna fall asleep. I know.
Yeah. There was it's the commentary started off well, but those ones are tough to listen to, like unless you're like you have the movie, and we did some like fucking obscure ass movies early on.
We did fucking obscure ass movies the entire time. Superman and the Mole Man.
But there were runs though where it's like people own the Donner Superman movies. They own the Keaton Batmans. They own we never did Spider-Man.
We never. That was one of the ones that was on the docket.
I would have liked
to hype
Spider-Man.
up for Amazing Spider-Man
I
2.
would have liked. Oh wow, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Jesus.
Yeah.
Was that what we were hyping?
For Amazing Spider-Man
No,
2?
we were hyping. Fuck it, we were hyping
Homecoming.
Homecoming.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say
okay.
shit. That would have been.
Yeah, because that came out
I would have
3
enjoyed
years
the
ago.
Spider-Man ones.
Yeah.
Like that's one and then one thing that unfortunately we weren't able to do this year, which is somehow a good thing because we were so busy with like interviews and stuff, was we all really enjoyed the Halloween ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And maybe sometime in the future, but we were just so busy. And I remember at one point Sam was like, "We're just gonna have to scratch those," and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine."
We just couldn't get the scheduling to work.
Yeah.
We were starting to become victims of our own. This is our behind the music episode.
Yeah.
The
And then it all fell apart.
Yeah.
and then I started to use the tour money to get cocaine.
Yeah. I was just, banging groupies left and
I
right.
couldn't remember the lyrics.
Yeah. Me and Don Felder got into a fight off stage.
Yeah.
And Jake was filming it all.
Yeah. We were victims of our own success, which is, I feel like that line's in literally every single episode of
Yeah.
Behind the Music.
Mhm.
I'm sure the production team, just like when they're like mapping out the storyline, they're like, okay, and this act is the victims of our own success act.
Yeah. Too big to fail? No, this is where they fail.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like
Commercial break.
there have been weeks where we've had 3 interviews, 2 specialty episodes, regular bookends, like to bookend the interviews, and like 2 or 3 book reviews.
Mhm.
That takes a lot of... There have been times where we have recorded almost nonstop from 6 in the afternoon to about 11 at night.
Yeah.
Breaking
It's-
maybe for dinner.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's typically only one day a week, but like half the time it's like a full-time gig.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we put in... Just recording, we put in like 5 hours a fucking week. Sometimes. Usually it's like 3 to 4. But sometimes it's like 5 hours of us just kind of like sitting here talking to whoever on Skype or on the phone or whatever. Us kind of taking a break, just like, all right, let's play guitars just to get this energy out.
Take random pictures.
Take random pictures.
for Sam's Instagram stories.
Of course, you gotta.
Mm.
You gotta. What are you guys doing after this? No, seriously. But
I gotta go home.
Yeah.
Got a long drive.
Of course. It's and what I'm doing outside of the studio, I'm sending emails or writing stuff on the website, or scheduling stuff on Twitter, getting books to review. I'm probably doing that like 3 or 4 days a week. So there
What
is
do you bring to the table, Jake?
My smile on a podcast.
give him the old Toby Flenderson 1,000-watt smile.
Hello.
So this, it's a hobby, but for some fucking reason, it's a hobby we take seriously, and it really has paid dividends. The fact that, I can hang out in a bar in Chelsea with Kyle Starks and Max Landis and not drink. Well, Kyle, but or like hang out with Donnie Cates, who we've never actually had on the show, and we've never had Max Landis on either. I could talk. Well, Landis is busy show running Dirk Gently right now,
Which I could talk to him about that show.
yeah.
I like it. It's a good show.
I'll talk to the Skybound guys, see what he's doing in the thing is with
They're almost done with the season. They only got like 2 or 3 episodes left.
But the problem is, right after that, he goes into the American Werewolf in London remake.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I'll try to get. There are people but there have been complete pipe dreams where I've talked to Kat or Bria and be like, it'd be really cool if we got X person on, and then they humor me. They're like, oh well, we'll see.
Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison. I mean, and
Once
Jake.
we get Grant Morrison, we can end the show.
Well, Jake can vouch for this. The first time we were at San Diego, and this is one of the first times we were talking to Kat in person anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, Grant Morrison's here. And at the time she didn't know because he was there with DC.
Yeah.
But she didn't say no, which is kind of fucking wild. Like, she had just met Jake and I. And, like, we'd be like, hey, it would be really cool if we got Grant or, like, Kyle Higgins or something. And she'd be like, oh, all right. The fact that she was that open and willing, at least, to us, meant a lot.
Yeah.
Well, she probably turned around and did the from like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Too bad you don't speak Wachutu.
Well, we saw Grant Morrison. Remember, we heard his
Scottish brogue.
His Scottish brogue.
And
he had a cool leather jacket on too. I remember that.
He is whatever he's wearing is fucking cool.
That's true.
Yeah, we haven't done any DC work. We've done Marvel work now.
Mm-hmm. We've talked to people about DC work, obviously.
We have,
but we weren't
directly.
We weren't.
Just like we've talked to people about Marvel work too, like Jim Zub. We just haven't, or Declan Shalvey, but we just haven't had. That was another great fucking interview.
Yeah. Totally.
The Void Trip guys. I'm friends with the Void Trip guys now. That's so fucking like Klaus and who just had a kid and Ryan O'Sullivan, the Paradiso guys.
Yeah.
You know.
Kyle Starks' wrestling Twitter follows me on Twitter.
Kyle Starks' Twitter follows me on Twitter. Yeah. I love the pictures of him in New York City where he's clearly like so intimidated by like fucking Manhattan.
That entire time I was like laughing. I was like, "Ha! Manhattan is nothing. I mastered it."
You merely adopted it. I was not born in it, but I
lived there for some time.
Took it as my own.
You were there. My city.
Yeah, you were there for 2 years. Yeah. So, thanks again, guys, for listening to us and listening to us kind of gab and kind of get the jams out.
We can talk about some relatively current events too, if we're done reminiscing evil.
Well, now we have to introduce our person we're interviewing. And now, sit back and enjoy our interview.
Let's let them talk about it.
Available in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology if you're more digitally inclined.
Yeah, that's right.
I would be remiss
if I didn't mention.
No,
that came about because the I would be remiss would be from like seeing dudes like fucking Foghorn Leghorn. I say boy, and I remember the first person I did it to. And it wasn't even for the fucking show. It was the last time I was at New York Comic Con as a fan, which was like 4 years ago. And I went up to Bob Layton, the guy that drew Armor Wars, Demon in a Bottle, all these classic Iron Man stories, Doom Quest, and he was signing my copy of fucking Armor Wars, and I was just like, Bob, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Armor Wars is my favorite Iron Man story of all time. And he's like, well, thank you. You are no longer in remission. And I was like, and from then on, it just kind of stuck.
And not to get my nose brown or anything.
That just came about because I'm aware that I can come off like a kiss ass. So instead of calling myself a kiss ass, I kind of went with a little more subtle metaphor where I was like, I don't want to get my nose brown.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to get shit on my nose, but
but so current event wise, there was a trailer that dropped today for us, last week for you all at home, last week plus, because who knows?
It could be years.
Yeah.
Could be never.
Could be forever. But yeah, so the Avengers, is it Infinity War Part 1?
Yes.
That trailer came out today. What did you boys think about it?
It was
like it.
Yeah, it was good.
Like it. I don't know. I went the entire day without watching it, but like seeing all these people online being like, "Oh my god," because nerds reacting like nerds do. But no, it was good. It was good. It got me interested in seeing the movie. Mm-hmm. Although Thanos looks weird, doesn't he? Am I the only one? I mean, Thanos always kind of looked weird, I'm sure.
The thumb.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a thumb with like 12 cleft chins.
What?
Or a single chin that's cleft.
He's
like
got to
10
get
times.
that headpiece soon, man.
Anatomically, what is the possible fucking purpose for chin ridges?
Yeah, he's just doing like the chin rub.
I mean, I feel like but that's a thing that's been in Thanos for.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah.
I was just checking to make sure it wasn't like something that like Feige
looks
was like,
cool.
"Hey guys,
give him ridges. I like ruffles."
Is it just me or like, and not just because
nobody on the ruffles?
You're fine. They're good.
Ruffles have ridges. I like it. I prefer a ridged potato chip. But But actor portraying Thanos aside, is it just me, or has Thanos looked drastically different in each depiction?
Oh, totally.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. The first time he looked like a purple Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like Donkey Kong
No.
anymore.
Yeah, barely looked purple.
True.
Yeah. He almost looked, like human flesh tone.
Yeah,
Maybe like oxygen deprived, but still.
Everything's riding on this, man.
Yeah.
This movie.
Yeah.
They're saying it's supposed to close it out.
Yeah. Are we worried that there's too many people in it?
No.
Okay.
We could handle Civil War. We could handle, I think the problem with Age of Ultron wasn't that there was too many characters. I think the problem with Age of Ultron is they didn't go deep enough with the characters, that they were too anxious to get through the beats.
Well, my thing is, though, like, Civil War and Avenger, like, that doesn't even scratch the surface of the characters are going to... I mean, this is 10 years worth of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be fucking bonkers. Now, for me, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like, I'm sure I'll dig it because, there'll be so many moments of like, oh, we get to see those people interact. We get to see these people together. We get to see this surprise here, blah, blah, blah. And Marvel's so good at doing that. Like, that's why Civil War was so much fun. And that's why even parts in Avengers 2 that I, dug. But, I mean, I've always kind of thought in the back of my mind, like, this could be, for me, not for like the genre, but for me, this could be the movie where I'm like, okay, the bubbles pop for me. Because, like, honestly, like, with a lot of the superhero movies lately, as much as I love superhero movies and as much as we do podcasts, we talk about them stuff, like, I'm kind of getting fucking tired, man. Like, I'm kind of getting real tired. And, like, the Infinity trailer was...
I'm tired, boss.
I'm tired. The Infinity trailer was cool, but I just don't know. I mean, like, so much is riding on. I'm sure, day before. This always happens with Star Wars too. I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to Star Wars, and like 24 hours before Star Wars, I'm like, holy fucking shit, we get to see a new Star Wars movie. But I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for Infinity War. I want to see all those characters interact. Seeing Thor just even look at the Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of cool. But there's a lot fucking going on in this movie, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Splash pages work in comics. They don't always work on the big screen. So
Yeah.
there's a lot. I'm looking way, 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 way more looking forward to Black Panther.
Yeah. That comes out in just a couple weeks, right?
February.
Oh, it's February?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which isn't really that far away.
I mean, that is just...
The rate time's been going these days.
Yeah. I mean, 3 months is really... I mean, Star Wars is, what, almost 15 days, if that, 14?
Yeah.
About
15. I mean, it's basically... it's the 29th today when we're recording this, but... It's 11:29 and 11:29.
Oh, I have 16 days on my little countdown here because I like to make countdowns. Also, 8 days until the Psych movie gets released, which means tomorrow for you listening on the day that this drops.
Steven, I make lists.
Yeah. I make countdowns. 36 days until Jericho versus Kenny Omega.
Ah, there you go. Nobody gets the lists reference.
I did not know.
Okay. I'll let you figure it out. You guys at home got the internet.
Google it.
Yeah. Jake and I finished The Punisher.
Yeah. Well, I did. Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to go into detail on last time because I think I don't know if I finished up by the last time we talked on here.
I think you had,
but I didn't want to say anything. Obviously, because Sam was in the midst of it.
That's right. I was halfway through.
I think that's a show that finds its footing and gets better as it goes on. The early episodes I said before were fine, but I mean it gets pretty goddamn brutal. So, but like I said, I've already kind of said my thing. Sam, what do you got to say about it?
Oh, it's not by design. It's not a fun show.
No.
But it is the most mature, emotionally complex thing that Marvel Studios has ever done so far.
Do you feel like the Netflix formula is getting tired?
Let me just put it this way. I'm not jumping out of my seat for a season 3 of Daredevil or season 2 of any of the other Defenders shows.
Daredevil I'm still really interested in. I think maybe because that was the first one, I don't know. Maybe it's the character.
I would argue it's still the best.
It's still the best, yeah. But I said the last couple episodes are my favorite, like kind of like little run of any of the Netflix stuff. I thought what they did with Punisher was really great towards the end. But I don't know. Like, I've seen that going around a lot. Again, maybe I feel like I was coming down too hard on superhero stuff in general. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not as excited as I used to be. I'll put it that way.
Because
it's
the novelty's gone.
Yeah, but like, and
fucking Punisher came out the same day as Justice League.
I know, and it's like it's a bummer because like I've been waiting to see this stuff for so long, and I don't know, like maybe it's it's just getting hit left and right with it, which it shouldn't be a problem, and it's not really a problem. It's just I don't know. I don't know. Like nothing's knocking me out. Knocking my socks off. Like Justice League was fun, but a mess. Punisher started off slow, got pretty dang good.
I was talking to Rich from the James Bond show. His birthday was over the weekend, and I was talking to him about the Punisher.
Happy birthday, Rich!
Happy birthday, Rich! We talked Rocky as well, but he was like, I wish that shit ran for 18.
Really?
He was like, that was the one Marvel Netflix show where it was like, it could have been more than 13.
Interesting.
Because his policy, he was like, outside of Daredevil, none of them have to be 13. But Punisher, that could have ran for 18.
Interesting. That was one where I was like, that could have been 8.
I do agree. It does start pretty slow.
Yeah. I mean, 10 max.
Yeah.
Because with Punisher, it's like, we've said it a million gajillion bajillion times. It's like it's not as complicated as the beginning of that show makes it seem. And I think a lot of that comes from this whole Black Ops super secret CIA background stuff where it's like just war on crime. Yeah. Just war on crime. Like, and maybe that sets it up for later, but like, that's why I still think the best overall the most I've enjoyed Punisher is still season 2 of Daredevil, which is still my favorite entire season of anything is season 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah.
Because he's just war on crime.
And I've said as much on Facebook, Punisher is the most black and white character in the entire Marvel universe. If his monochromatic costume doesn't give it away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's the only way that Frank sees the world. He doesn't see shades of gray.
Yeah.
So, also, his family doesn't need to be hidden as part of a conspiracy.
No, just make it random.
Yeah,
I was talking to a friend who had finished it, and they were, we were talking about it, and I was like, I not to be like a comic nerd man ranting about shows and stuff, but that's what we do.
You are a host on a show called Geek Out.
But I mean, like, not to be like, oh, well, in the comic, but I was like, hey, like one thing I like more in the comic is that it's random. And they were like, oh, I didn't know that, And so, that kind of spurred them into maybe checking out more Punisher stuff or, just, seeing it from another side because the randomness is what kind of, I think, drives Frank up a fucking wall. And then also, like, almost every adaptation of the Punisher has to, like, have a surrogate family for him. With the micro stuff,
just to kind of remind him what he's fighting for.
Yeah, it's like,
but he knows what he's fighting for.
If he's that angry and that driven, he doesn't need a reminder.
Yeah,
a reminder is the fact that he's still alive.
But then, what's Rebecca Romaine Stamos gonna do?
The librarians. But yeah, so thanks for listening to us for over 3 years now. We'll always keep the lights on. I can't promise we'll always be here, but we'll at least always keep the lights on.
What does that mean?
It means it always leaves the possibility of your return.
Oh. Well, podcasts, much like early Beatles music or early 60s music, if you take a break, you're done.
Have you ever considered that the reason that Frasier is so popular amongst guys like us is because he just hangs around alone and basically records a podcast?
No, he is the radio host, but they dropped that. That becomes secondary in the series. I mean, later on.
I just love tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Oh, baby, I hear it.
Oh, I saw something similar like that online. Like someone was saying something about like, if Frasier is a hero for millennials because of that, and I was like, I don't know. The same reason I like Gilmore Girls. It's a lived-in world. You feel like you're like part of that family, part of that world, part of Stars Hollow with the Gilmore Girls, stuff like that. But maybe that's why I've seen a lot of people recently been like talking about Frasier on Twitter. I feel like they're discovering it. Good. Yeah, they need to. It's the greatest sitcom of all time.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, again, thanks for listening. Like I said, we'll always keep those lights on. This has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
Fried chicken.
Thank you very much.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.